Welcome back to episode 12, Bipartisan Bourbon, Finding Common Ground. I'm Ryan.
I'm Thee.
And I'm JoJo.
And we're back from our intermission.
Yes, we are.
To record our second episode of the day.
It's the second half.
And we sobered up before we came back for this one.
You're welcome.
Just for you.
Thank goodness.
Oh. So, just to let everybody know, this is going to be our last episode for a few weeks. We'll be back in September. We have a couple vacations coming up and wanted to get this in before we all hit the road again. So what are we going to be talking about today, Thee?
Well, we are going to kind of wrap up year one and tell you guys a little bit more about what to expect in our second year, or I guess it's season because we're still in the same year, but second season, you know, we have a lot of great ideas. We're looking forward to getting some from you guys too, so we'll cover a little bit more about that. We are going to touch briefly on some of the current politicking that's happening in our society, because we think it would be a little remiss if we didn't at least acknowledge that it's happening. We're not
sure what's happening.
Exactly, and we are not a political podcast in any way, shape, or form. However, we are good, tax-paying, law-abiding citizens who have
freedom of speech,
thoughts, exactly,
yep,
to share. So, what's been going on? Let's see. It's not what's been going on, because
we already covered that in the last episode.
That. That's right. So, what are we gonna be doing coming up here, Joe? What do you got going on?
You know, you guys get to go on vacations, and I am work. So I'm going to Denver. I'm going over to Jackson, Michigan. I'm going to Houston. I'm going to Kansas City.
You got to do the Strand of Hands tour when you're in Denver.
Oh my gosh, I will. It's already on my to-do.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. And then my buddy's husband. So shout out to, I like to call her, well, shout out to Katie. I won't say her last name because I say her maiden name because she's still, you know, that's how I know her, right? But shout out to Katie and Mike. I want to go see where Mike works. For the life of me, I cannot remember where it is and what it's called, but I did some research on the website, and it looked really, really fun. It looked really cool. So, yeah, I'm gonna have a nice time out in Denver. And then, that's all I'm doing is working. It's just the story of my life.
Oh, you'll find something fun to get into.
Always do.
You can always write down podcast ideas if you get bored.
I could do that.
Yeah.
So between the two of you, I'm going to save Ryan for last because his is crazy. Mm-hmm. So, all right, Thee, so tell us what you're up to.
Well, you know, every summer for the last, 19, maybe 20 years, we have gone to Ludington to go into the state park campground. The last few years, we've been able to go in for a couple of weeks, and that's what we're up to next month. So we're going in. We'll be camping in the state park. We'll be hosting friends. Joe's coming up. You'll be out of town when we're in there. Because we do overlap. Our vacations are overlapping a little bit. But, we're going to have a good time. Relax, unplug, because the state park, you don't get internet access unless you bike intentionally to the office on site. So we'll be doing some hiking, some fishing, some hanging out at the beach. I hope to come back with a nice golden aura to me, but this is my dream vacation, at least for now, until I start doing something bigger. But we also are going to be plotting our plans for the garage. That's going to start in September. So hopefully when we come back together, I can tell you more about that.
Finally. You've been talking about that for
years.
Ever.
At some point, I can stop talking about it when it's up.
And then we can go drink in your garage.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm getting heating and cooling put in there.
I like it.
Is there going to be a podcast studio in the upstairs of the garage, or is there no upstairs?
No upstairs, but that doesn't mean there's not room for fun.
Okay.
It's going to be my space, so we'll see what happens.
Maybe we can take over Sarah's she shed.
I don't know that we could fit in that with all of our shit.
She's going to be like, Jojo, buddy.
It should be like pipe dreams.
Yeah, she will.
What's going on with you, Ryan? Tell us. Joe just set you up with that you got a big thing coming up. What's going on?
Yeah, so Eve and I got a message from our exchange student that we had during COVID, and her and her family invited us over to Slovakia for vacation this year. So we're flying into Vienna on a Saturday/Sunday because we leave Saturday, get there Sunday. We'll be in Slovakia 3 or 4 days. Then she's going to take us to Budapest, Hungary. We're going to go up there for 3 days, 2 nights, back to Slovakia to do some more travel, like day trips around there. And then we're spending 2 nights in Vienna on the way back. So looking forward to that. I've heard a lot of good things about all 3 places.
Yeah.
And we're taking our kids. Zoe and Eli are going with us. And obviously Eve's going to be there with us. Yeah. So we'll see how it goes. This is one of those vacations where I'm not allowed to plan. Eve let Mishka do the planning. I booked our hotel in Vienna to make sure I was close to the airport because our flight's out at like 6 a.m.
Oh, yeah.
Their time. So, but Mishka's got everything set up. Her family has an apartment for us while we're in Slovakia. And, yeah.
Wow.
So we're looking forward to the food, the sights, seeing the countryside, all that.
See you, Mishka? Yeah.
Yep.
I remember that was pretty sad that she was stuck here and couldn't get back to her family during COVID for a while there. And
yeah, and she was going to stay with us through what we thought was 2 or 3 weeks of shutdown.
Sure.
But Slovakia gave them 48 hours to get back, and they were shutting the borders down. And at that point, we knew things were kind of starting to drag on longer than a month. And
yeah.
So, unfortunately, we did a prom for her. I think we talked about this before, and then got her to the airport. So it'll be exciting to see her again.
Yeah.
That's great.
I mean, it's getting real when all the toilet paper's gone off the shelves. So.
Yeah, I know.
Now we
Speaking
know.
of which, I just checked upstairs. I think we're about out of COVID supply, so we got to hit Sam's Club again.
4 years later. Well, that sounds like a lot of fun. You also, I'm assuming when you guys get back, you'll be moving the kids back to Ohio State.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we get back on Wednesday late night, and we're going out of Detroit, so we got to drive back to Grand Rapids, home for a day, taking the kids back to Ohio State. Then I'm get back Sunday, and Monday I fly out for South Carolina for 3 days for another sales conference.
Wow.
Fun.
But Greenville, have you been to Greenville,
Yeah.
South Carolina?
Yeah.
That town is
It's cool.
so cool.
Yeah. I visited that when I was down there in Charleston. It's a beautiful town. Both of them are beautiful.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. Well, this is why I think they understand we got a lot going on in the next few weeks. So, we'll be taking care of that and then coming back to you guys in September, like Ryan said earlier. But yeah, so we just got done taking an intermission between episode 11 and episode 12. Where do we go, guys? Where do we go?
But Butcher's Union.
Of course.
There we go.
Yeah.
That's not what you thought we were doing.
No,
but
I thought we were headed to one bourbon.
Took us a detour.
We turned right instead of left.
Yeah, but Joe said no on the steak, so we went to Butcher's Union.
Yeah.
We'll do the steak another time.
I tell you what, I really wasn't crazy about heading down there because when we got here, we were laying out plans for the day, and Ryan shared with me that former President Trump was going to be in the town and would be downtown, which is a couple of miles away from where these restaurants are. I was not too thrilled to head in that direction, but honestly, we saw a bunch of them on our way out there, didn't we?
Oh, my goodness.
They were lined up, and Eve looked on the way back, and it was over 1.5 miles. They were lined up. We passed them under the bridge, and it was like, holy shit, that's a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the helicopters were out. Evidently, this is one of the highest security requirements of any presidential, event type election event especially after last week.
Which, just for clarity, last week for us recording is July 13th. By the time this episode comes out, it'll be a couple of weeks away. But yeah, so this is the first outing he's had besides the convention, right?
Right.
Mhm.
Since the shooting
Yep.
attempt, or I guess he did get shot, but assassination attempt.
Speaking of the shooting, what did all the folks have, Joe?
they had maxi pads on their ears
And support.
and support.
Oh,
We're gonna stand with our leader
we
with
could-
our maxi pad.
We could see it from the bridge.
Yep.
Like Ryan said, we're going over the bridge. They're underneath of us, lined up to head to the arena, and
That
a
was
lot of
interesting.
red baseball hats and white ears.
Yeah, but it's not a cult.
No.
No, no.
I think we'll get back into that subject here in a little bit, but we switched things up a little bit this time because
We did.
we were trying to think of something to do for our drink, and so we looked at the shelf, and I had a 12-year Knob Creek and a 15-year Knob Creek, and we wanted to just give our thoughts on the difference between the two.
Yeah.
So I started pouring out. I've got Thea and my 12-year poured, and I ran out of that bottle and gave Joe a new bottle. And I was just curious to taste, I cheated and I was tasting. And oh my God, the two bottles were like completely different tasting. The
Same 12 year, same blend, same small batch.
same proof,
Yeah.
small batch,
Yeah.
everything. And so I had to have you guys try
Yeah.
that. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was,
I would have not liked their glasses.
That's right.
Not at all.
It's
Not
almost
even
like
a
we
little.
set it up for you.
It was. Thank you,
Yeah.
Rye.
That one glass was like, if for both bottles being 100 proof, the one seemed like more of an 80 to 85
The second one that
proof.
Joe's having, yeah.
The one Joe
Yeah.
has.
Just the way I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll talk about the flavors in a second here, but I thought it was really interesting to note that. So, for our listeners, that's significant, right? Like, so you might luck out and find a bottle that you really like, you enjoyed it, and you go back to the store and you buy the same thing. It's in this case, a 12-year Knob Creek, and it's the same exact blend. It's nothing right in line. You open it up and you're like,
Yeah.
because it
And-
could have been the opposite, right? Like the
Yep.
first bottle could have been the smooth, excellent, and neither one of them were bad. It's just it was different.
Yeah. And being small batch, they're blending up to 100 bottles. I don't
Right.
know how many Knob Creek's
Yeah.
doing. But like we've talked about before, there's no law about small batch.
Right.
Usually they're 40 to 60 or 40 to 100 barrels blended together to smooth things out a little bit. And the theory is it keeps it more consistent. But as we found with that 12-year, it was not
No.
consistent.
That was
No.
wild.
Now, that being said, that bottle on the shelf has been opened for 6 months.
Yeah.
And it was at the end of the bottle.
Yeah.
So probably some of the alcohol's evaporated off, I'm guessing. And the other bottle was brand new. We just opened it.
Yeah, but the brand new one is the one that's smooth.
No.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
Was
It
it?
shows.
That's the one that Joe has, is the smooth
Shit,
one.
I got them mixed up.
You
Yeah.
did.
Okay.
You got the burn, baby,
I would,
burn.
I would totally agree with you, because I would think that's part of the reason why my head was a little bit more twisted. I would have thought the brand new bottle would have had more bite that would
Yeah.
settle after a while, but
Well,
I mean,
maybe
it just
had
goes to
more
show
at the
ya.
Butchers Union than I remembered.
just to show you.
Well, it makes me worry that the bottle I just bought, I'm like, I hope I love it as much as I did when I tried it.
Well, let's
hope you
open
love
it
it
up and
too.
try it. So
Maybe
so,
that's our season 2 opening.
That could be.
So back to our comparison. So we have a Knob Creek 12 small batch at 100 proof and a Knob Creek 15-year 100 proof small batch too. Color, from what I'm seeing,
Yeah.
is very similar on both of them. And can you smell a difference between them? I'm trying to keep talking so the
Yes,
listeners don't.
the 12-year in my mind, I can more caramel. It's
Very caramely.
Yep, it's
Yeah.
not as ripe on your nose. This one, the 15, it doesn't. It just smells a little different. You can still smell some of the flavors, but
Flavors.
flavor. Sorry, but it's not as
Yeah.
appealing to
12
me.
is definitely a caramel bomb on the nose.
Yeah.
Big time.
Definitely sweet. But you know, I
Wanna
think
smell
that's the
mine, little
interesting.
boy?
Yeah. let me
That's the
smell
interesting thing on this 12. You know that we have that has the more bite to it.
Smell this one. So that's my 12.
Ours
That
has
one has
ours
more
has a more.
It
caramel
does.
on it.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah, I've got the
Interesting.
same one you do.
Okay, so let's try
All right.
the
12
try
year?
the 12 year
All right,
first, and I know we cheated, so we know it's a little.
go ahead and give it a try. So I'm getting no fruit notes. I got sweet, caramel for sure.
This one, and I like Knob Creek, but it's
good.
one of those bourbons to me that has the good kind of musty flavor to it.
Okay, I can see that.
But this one is a little hot. I mean,
Yeah, well, our bottle is pretty hot.
Mine is not hot at all. It's smooth sailing going down. It's good.
she
I-
doesn't know I actually put some water in the bottle before I put.
That's okay.
No,
I know
I'm
you
just
wouldn't.
kidding.
This I don't know. I'm almost getting our favorite Annie's
Anus.
word.
Anise.
I'm getting a little bit of that licorice vibe for me on this 12 year, just a little bit.
On the
Are you?
nose.
Yeah, and the taste. Or maybe it's a spice. Maybe it's not. That's where I'm trying to come with. Like there's definitely a spicy note. I'm definitely getting the oak.
And I cheated or I didn't cheat, but I did not look up the mash bill on this.
No,
That's
Nope.
okay.
we're doing it different.
Okay, so
Wrapping up year one. So let's check out. year
try some water, and then we'll try
Yeah.
the 15.
Clean it out.
So the 15 on the nose, it's not as strong a caramel as on the 12.
It smells smoother. There was an alcohol smell. There was like I don't know how you have a bite in the nose, but there was a sharpness when I was smelling the 12 year, but I
Now-
don't. This smells smooth.
I'm gonna tell you, I taste like ethanol
I was gonna say it smells like
Oh,
it smells
you're
like
smelling it?
yeah.
on the 15.
Yeah, I was gonna say I can't put my finger on ethanol. That's what I could smell. It was like some kind of gassy. What is that?
And I have an 18-year bottle that we haven't opened. I'd be curious to see because, and this is, I think we've talked about this, like with the Pappy Van Winkle collection. For me, the 15-year is the peak best bottle out of all of them. You know, they've got 10, 12, 15, 20, 23 or something like that. And the older 20, 23 year, to me, doesn't drink as well as the 15. Like, to me, and this is something, you know, I want to look into, and I know we've talked about it. Mm-hmm. It's like, just because something's aged longer doesn't necessarily mean it's better.
Right.
Right.
You know, like, to me, there's that, I don't want to say supply and demand, but that's what's in
I
my
get ya.
economic graph, you know, where age versus flavor profiles cross on a chart. And to me, for Knob Creek, the 12-year is a much better
Yes.
flavor profile.
It definitely is. I just tried the 15. It's not horrible. I don't like
I'm going to put some ice in it and see if it
change.
changes.
It will.
Well, for me, the bite. Okay, so just remember, Ryan and I have the 12 year with more bite to
Correct.
it. This one is smoother. Definitely smoother versus our 12 year.
It doesn't have the musty flavor that I was talking about,
No,
but it's
but-
like the after. So like after you sip it, to me the flavor drops off quicker with the 15-year. Like the 12 kind of lingered in my mouth for a while, but the 15 just went flat after a few seconds.
I know you like it when it lingers in your mouth.
Certain bourbons, yes.
Yes.
Well timed.
Yes, me too.
Oh, boy. Can I get a cube?
Yes, you may.
Well, that was fun. I like that we did something different. It's interesting not having like any reviews or what have you to kind of let our listeners know, but hopefully you guys
And
I
and
enjoyed
the
a little bit of a
beauty-
comparison and contrast kind of conversation. I mean, flavor profile similar, but interesting how there's so much caramel in that 12 year versus a little bit more of a Like I'm getting sweet on both of them. I definitely can tell it's corn. Like, like but I get that peaty vibe that you got from the first one. But I wouldn't, is it peaty or is it smoky?
To me, it's more smoky, musty kind of flavor.
Maybe it's the barrel. Because, you think about all the differences they go through in the processing.
Right.
And, going back to what you said about that, peak economics, sometimes there's really good young bourbons that happen.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, once again, it's all about everybody's individual preferences. And, I love talking about these things with you guys because, quite often Joe has a different profile than I do or, and I really like talking through these things with you guys.
Yeah. Me too.
Me three.
Okay. Now I just want to keep drinking.
Good thing we like it. We started a podcast about it.
I don't like it. You know how I love, I put the cube in and it opens it up? I put that cube in the 15. Nope.
Not a fan.
No, I can taste the kind of the ethanol taste more. Yeah. I like the 12. It's really good.
Yeah.
Peppery.
Yeah. And the thing is with these two bottles, one reason I chose them is because outside of Michigan, I go to Ohio, I've been to St. Louis, other places, those are on the shelf regularly. Michigan, I think I've picked up one bottle at Beer City at one point.
Gotcha.
So, but outside of Michigan, those are pretty readily available.
That's great. I mean, I'll keep my eyes peeled for a 12-year small. That's good.
I have a good selection downstairs.
I bet you do.
Yup.
Oh, good.
So now what?
Well,
do we want to go around our recap and end on politics, or do we want to start with politics and end on a recap and plans for next year?
I think we do a quick blurb about politics and talk about the recap and kind of what they're going to come into. That's my opinion.
It's going to be a big thing this year, obviously, going into the election because we have two old white guys.
Yep.
Both are not ideal, in my opinion.
Nope.
Mm-hmm.
And out of 365 million people, we have these two old white guys ready to represent the population.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest. I haven't felt excited about voting since I voted for Obama.
I agree with you.
In his last term. Honestly, I felt confident placing my vote in that man. I believe based on his first term, he did well. He was confident. He's poised. He represented America the way that, I thought we should be represented. Did he have a difficult presidency? Of course he did.
Right.
Every president has it. Look, it's the toughest job in the frickin' world.
It is.
Y'all.
And you can't make everybody happy.
But I look at 2016, I was not excited to vote, honestly.
Nope.
As much as I wanted to see, a woman president, I wasn't feeling it for Hillary.
Nope.
I didn't feel confident. I didn't feel like their platform was really well. I didn't feel like I understood what the Democrat Party was going to do. And then there was Trump. And to be honest with you, I even felt curious back in 2016.
Yes.
Because I was like, this guy at one point was a Democrat.
Yep.
He has ran businesses. Maybe we need a business person to run the or to run the country. It wouldn't be the first
same
time.
thing.
Yeah.
I mean, shoot, Ronald Reagan was an actor, not a politician. He wasn't a horrible president.
Nope, he was a
in
good
my
president.
eyes. So then, but there was still something. So I did vote for Hillary. I mean, I'm just telling you what it is. I voted for Hillary, but I wasn't confident. I wasn't. And then 2020 came, and after 4 years of Trump's leadership, I was like, no. I looked at Biden's record as a senator, and he was active. He voted. Mm-hmm. He did things. He worked out bills. He was good at.
You could cross party lines.
Right. And I felt better about voting for him in 2020. And here we are.
2024.
With the same two fuckers
Yep.
looking at us with blank stares on the TV.
Nope. Which one is talking more belligerently or incoherently or, I mean, even both of them are stooping to a little bit of, more so Trump than Biden by any means, but this this volatile environment that we're in right now.
Yep.
You know, it's wicked, concerning. It's concerning.
So,
Yep.
and that's kind of, we were talking before the episode about it, but trying to understand, and I want to understand both sides. Like, why are you so passionate? Because we've gotten to the point now where it's so polarizing. It's either you're with us on 100% of the things or you're against us on 100% of the things. So how did it get to that point? That there's no more compromise. There's no more, everybody's worried about the next election, not actually fucking representing us, the people
Right.
that voted them in the first place.
Getting stuff done.
Yeah.
Taking
Yep.
care of the country.
And
Not that I feel like our country's in bad shape.
no,
Right?
no. It's not as bad as the media and
No, we were
And
kind of
candidates make
we
it
were
out to be.
fact checking a few things, folks, and obviously everybody's fact checking Trump because he lies between his teeth all the time, but the whole of it is, we as middle class citizens usually bear the brunt of a lot of things.
100%.
And we do well, middle class. We're
Hanging in
decent
there.
middle class, like income anyway.
right.
We're doing okay. We have our living situations are good. We're not
We can afford
homeless.
bourbon.
We can,
We can.
right. We sit here and tell everybody about, the splurges we can afford to make. So we are not, that means that things are not as horrible.
And it's not any worse for me personally now than it was with Trump as president.
right.
Like, my income's still the same.
Mm-hmm.
Everything, nothing's went down for me.
Everybody keeps talking about, oh, my 401k was booming with Trump. Okay. Yep, I agree. But my 401k is booming with Biden. So, but is your money, is your personal money the most important thing to you? And that's the big conversation, right? Is what is it that, are you concerned with, social programs and different people's rights? Because the minute that they start peeling away rights, it just it's just a cyclical effect, right? It just, the snowball keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I'm just like, it's not just about frickin' you. I didn't swear. Because I did overload last episode. So
No, 2 episodes,
2 episodes ago.
Yeah.
But it definitely, it's not about you. We are America, and we are a melting pot and a group of people. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't think about ourselves, but we need to think about others as well and how it's going to impact you. Does abortion would it impact me at all? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But it will impact people I know. It will impact the young girls coming up. And if you think about it and you start going, well, religion does this, and I'm like, church and state, church and state, church and state. So
that's done. They gave that up.
yeah, I struggle. I struggle with that. I don't believe in keeping yourself in a vacuum. There's more important things.
Yeah, church and state is long out the window because we have a SCOTUS who doesn't even believe in the Constitution anymore.
Yep.
Doesn't even understand how to read. I think you're absolutely right. When it boils down to the rights of the people,
Yep.
and that is the democracy, right?
Yep.
Like, and we have a right, and all I want people to do, and I'm not here to say who you should vote for. I'm really not, I'm not that person. Just vote. Exercise
Yep.
your vote.
Right.
And,
That's most important.
we did have an interesting conversation. You want to tell them about the conversation you had with Zoe? Because I had a similar one with Lex. No, not with Lex. With one of Sarah's close friends who actually has swayed away from her preferred candidate and is now, voting differently. So how did Zoe...
I'll keep it short, but we were having a conversation in the back of the car going to dinner and, talking about voting. And I don't like either one of them. I said, oh, I agree. I don't like either one of them either. So I'm going to vote third party or green or whatever. And I said, well, they're not going to win and you're throwing away your vote. Well, that's just because, people don't, get together and do it, right? So they don't say, hey, we're going to vote for this Green Party candidate and I'll vote. And we were talking about Ross Perot. He was a viable candidate back in the day, but I just said to her, I said, you know what? I don't know if trying to prove yourself that there should be third party or another option. I believe there should be, because it is a democracy. I agree with her.
Right.
But I said, I don't know if this is the year to ride that fence and say, you know what, I'm voting for a third party. That's just my opinion. I was like, I get what you're saying, and I completely agree with you. There should be other candidates, because it is a democracy, and we should have choices. But not this year. Not with so much. When you read that Prop 2025, my skin just crawls. It makes me sick.
The 20, yeah.
What is that one about? Just for us that don't know.
That is about so it's about the way I understand it, it's a very religious-led proposition, right?
Okay.
And all the rights that they want to take away in the next 4 years is freaking scary. It's insane.
Oh, you haven't heard of that?
Mm-mm.
It's the conservative.
I can't remember their name.
Yeah. Yeah, I wish we had a little context on that. So, yeah, if you haven't, for folks that are listening, and also for you, Ryan, like if you haven't looked it up, Proposal 2025 is like a all-inclusive. What do they call that when they create their? I know we're talking a little bit about religion, but I don't mean Bible per se, but like their map, their plan, their strategic plan, if you will, on how to. It's quite terrifying, and it actually includes giving the president full immunity, which is already starting to happen, and it's super interesting, and I love Zoe's enthusiasm, and I totally respect, and I feel the same way too, and it's similar to the conversation I had with Brandy. I would love more than anything to have a strong, viable third-party candidate.
Correct.
In fact, I feel like both our two main parties, Democrat and Republican, are actually subdivided right now.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. On both sides of the aisle, you have your far left and your far right, and quite often I find myself, depending on what the subject material is, I'm somewhere closer to riding the middle.
Me too.
And I'm probably leaning more like Democratic on the social issues.
100%.
And more fiscally conservative.
Correct. Yeah. Me too.
But I'm not, like, if I could find somebody that was even
somewhere
in the middle. And when we were talking about this too, I think like Nikki Haley.
Man, I thought she was great.
I thought for sure maybe she was going to come out and pull it out and be a potential contender for my vote. But
give the Republicans that are not MAGA, like right wing, give them someone to stand by.
Yeah.
Right.
And come back together.
Because there's not a true traditional Republican anymore. There's just not. No. I mean, there's not a Ronald Reagan or a George Bush. They're just not there.
And remember during, like, all of the Kuwait War and all that, how bad everybody thought George Bush was. And now you look back on it, and it's like, well, he wasn't great. But, man, compared to some of the other stuff going on, it's like it wasn't as bad as we thought.
No.
And I'm sure there's other generations looking back at other presidents, over history, and it's like, that guy was a fucking divisive individual.
Now who's dropping the F-bombs?
That's me. You get me riled up now.
I think it's super interesting. You kind of reminded me of something I found, which it's on topic, but it's a slightly off topic. So as we've been exploring podcasts, and I've been like diving into other podcasts and stuff, I found this great one. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but it's about history, where this professor tells like a certain historical period or story, but he tells it in like almost like a fictionalized version. Like he tells the story in a very engaging way, like almost like you're there in the moment, and he describes it and the activities that are going on. And he was describing a Theodore Roosevelt's election campaign that I was like, holy cow, like really, this is not the first time in history, people, that the threat to democracy or some kind of threat has come up. And it's super interesting, in my opinion, to listen to his history and be interested in it, versus when we were in high school or middle school, and
Right.
like they're shoving the facts, like you need to know when the Constitution was written and when the Civil War occurred and when the Declaration of Independence was actually signed, like we didn't engage then, but now that we understand like things differently, and we like, I mean, we feel like this moment is the only moment, but it's not. Like you said, there's been presidents that we in the moment were like, what is going on? And then later on, look, hindsight's 2020, right? And nearly everything we do. And it is the toughest job.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't want to.
You look how much they age over 4 years.
Oh.
I mean, Obama went from young and like
Vibrant,
and then 4 years later, white hair. I mean, that's pretty typical, I think, of just the amount of stress they go through. And
George W.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. It's
I just
tough.
worry about the hate. It's no longer you can have a discussion with someone from an opposite party, and you can have a discussion or opposite beliefs than you. You could still, I valued having that discussion and hearing their points on why they feel this way or think this way. And they would listen to me and why I feel and think this way. And that was really great. It cannot happen anymore. I mean, you said it earlier, you're either with us or you're against us. And it's, the hate that's here is just, it blows my mind. In hearing like different clips from people talking, whether it's on TikTok or a YouTube reel, if Trump doesn't win, you're all dead. I'm like, wait, what? So it's just, we're in a different place, and it's very terrifying.
so let me ask this. I mean, this is stuff that came up last election too. I mean, you look at the social media platforms and the 24-hour news cycle, and the problem, I think, with social media is with them not fact-checking. I mean, some of them are working more towards putting disclaimers now that this is not true or whatever, if it's something politically engaging. But people follow TikTok people. People follow on Instagram. And if they post it, it's gospel. I mean, people believe that shit.
It's got to be true.
All day long.
Yep.
And the more that you watch that, the more your social media feed's coming with stuff like that to you from other viewers or other posts. And it's kind of like a brainwashing thing.
That's
I
how
think.
people
and it's
convert to terrorism.
Both sides. Yeah.
Yep.
This is why I go back to the importance of education is not necessarily in the subject matter that we teach in education, but also teaching students, whether they're elementary, middle, high school, post-high school educations, teaching them how to learn, verifying facts. Like when we were kids, it was the Encyclopedia Britannica, and that was it. Or you went to the Dewey Decimal System in the library, and you learned how to learn, right?
Yep.
Nowadays, like, you have got to fact check. I mean, even prepping for this podcast, Ryan's like rattling off a fact, and he's like, well, hold on a second, I got to fact check. And then it was, close, but slightly
It takes
different.
time, though. That's the problem.
And it does. It certainly does. And people are like, we have this instantaneous, instant gratification.
Yep.
We got to have it. We got to have it now. So if it's in my feed, like Brian said, it's gospel. And
It's got to be true.
so in addition to encouraging people to vote, my second thing would be just check your information, and don't necessarily believe, like, just because Ryan Julian posts something, please
I
be
only
wary.
post
It
the
might not
truth,
be
though.
Ryan.
I only post the truth.
It's true, but it might not be Ryan
Might not.
because somebody can set up we were just talking about this too, not even having anything to do with this, about how easy it is to set up a profile with Ryan Julian's name or Joe's name. You can edit that.
That's fine.
You can totally.
I
blip
want
this part
everybody
out.
to know who I am. God damn it.
Sorry.
No.
But I mean, seriously, like you can't even trust that anymore. You really do check that source, check another source, check a third source. Like, make sure it's real, because I feel like there's a lot of fear mongering on both sides going on.
100%.
Democrats are doing it.
Yep.
Republicans are doing it, and we got to be more careful.
So one thing I looked up to as we were prepping for this, because it's like, it's very easy to get worked up. And I know for quite a few years.
No shit.
I've had
I'm worked
some
up right now.
anxiety. Like, I don't think I'd ever had anxiety like I had in the last presidential cycle. But that being said, I wanted something positive, right? And I don't know how positive this is, but, you know, we were talking about compromise and stuff like that. So I looked up some facts on our legislature and bipartisanship. So here's a few statistics I'll throw out there to you for 2024. 91.34%. So this is all out of 381 bills that were proposed. 91.34% garnered 6 or more Republican votes, which was 10% of GOP legislators to pass. And then 89.24% received 10 or more Republican votes. But this one was the one that, to me, was more kind of stood out. Over 80.84% earned 31 or more Republican votes for bills that were in terms of bipartisan.
Yeah,
I mean, 31, that's pretty good,
yeah,
considering both parties typically only vote their own way most of the time.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that was out of 381. So 308 earned more than 31 Republican votes. I thought that's
good.
Stuff is getting done.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know,
I
it's
mean,
not.
Look, you fact checked me, Ryan, because I was feeling bad about all three sides of our system. You know, I was feeling like these decisions are coming out of Supreme Court, which is a whole other subject. I feel like our Congress is spending so much time bad-mouthing each other, wasting time on impeachment investigations, or just talking a whole bunch of belligerent, like bringing Dr. Fauci in. My gosh. Okay. So I felt like they were just wasting time. So honestly, I'm glad you brought this, because this shows me in 1 year, in 2024, they actually passed some things.
Right.
And they worked together. And this, I know a lot of people would say this does not have anything to do with the president, but it's got to have something to do with the president. It's got to have something to do with the work they need to do. And it's got to have something to do with the people that are actually being represented. So thank you for shining a spotlight on something that's happening.
So I know we're hitting about 45 minutes already. We were worried about having enough content to get through, and then we got worked up. So we kind of wanted to do season 1 in review, where this will be our 12th episode.
That's right.
We've said we'll be back early September, mid-September with some new content. Some things that we're looking at before we kind of talk through these episodes. We do want to call out our followers on Spotify right now and Apple. And I haven't even checked Google, but I found out some more people are on Google kind of listening.
Google transferring to YouTube?
Transferring to YouTube.
Ooh.
And Rob, I think, said he listened on Amazon, which I never even... The podcast platform we're using publishes to everything. So I got to figure out how to get accounts.
I love the easy button. You remember that from the Staples?
Yep.
That button?
Yeah. So we do want to give a shout out to everybody that's listened to us and subscribed, and please tell your friends and stuff like that.
Yeah,
but
thank you very much.
Yep. Thank you.
before we get wrapping things up, you know, I was looking through, Thee put all of our episodes on here, and I definitely want to listen to all these again just to hear how we've grown.
Yeah, we have.
But I remember, like, episode 1, we thought, you know what? We have these new Blue Yeti microphones that are multi-directional. We can just slap that bad boy in the middle of the table and talk, and the table was clean. And then we listened to it, and it's like, content was good, sound quality not so good.
Yeah.
Terrible.
So next episode for our travel Sky Miles episode we went and bought the Zoom kit.
Yeah.
And man, the sound quality on this thing
Yeah.
is
By episode 2, we were improved. Hopefully people noticed growth. That's what I see when I look at this list. You know, I don't mean to cut you off, Ryan.
No, you're good.
I don't, but I think you're absolutely right. And we knew off the cuff. Look, when I talked to you guys, when we were talking, you know, in that road trip back from the Ohio State, like in my head, I was picturing we would be recording on our iPhones or like with the little headphones plugged into our ears. I had no idea the commitment it would take and the investment it would be to do this. I look back on it, I have no regrets whatsoever.
No.
And I'm proud of us because I feel like we've grown, you know, both through our podcast like abilities. Shout out to Ryan, our tech guy, because Joe and I still don't have any podcast technical skills.
Negative.
And we're okay, but you know,
but
we're working on it.
You two got the website up.
We did. We barely like a couple weeks ago, but you know, there's room for growth, and we're excited. You know, as we're looking through year one, you know, that's what you do. You reflect and you go, where did we come from? We look with foresight into where we want to be, and that gives us insight. So as we're wrapping up year one, I feel like we're in a really good place. Or season one. God, I keep saying year one. Sorry about that. So
feels like it's been a year just because we haven't seen each other in a month.
It's been a minute, but you know, this has just been really great. We've grown, but I mean, these podcasts definitely for me as a personal thing. I mean, I have grown personally just by doing this and you know, kind of walking through everything together. And yeah, I mean, you learn so much about yourself. So it's been really interesting. And, you know, you're working with, you know, the three of us have to work together and we all have our own idiosyncrasies and how we do stuff. It's not like we've known each other since birth, right? So, yeah, I mean, it's figuring everybody out and knowing where your place is.
And I will give you a thanks, Joe, because I don't have to edit so much anymore.
You're welcome.
Our first 2 episodes.
I know.
I wish I had all those stories.
See?
I still might have some of those stories once we
Growth.
get on our pay for service, but
Those will never come out.
okay.
Sir, never.
Hey Ryan, what was one of your favorite episodes? If you had to pick one, just for the sake of time, I really thought we'd have more time to go through all of these, but what was one of your favorites?
I think honestly, the Pride on the Rocks episode when I was interviewing you and Joe, and like feedback I got from that, and it was the same feedback I had from myself, was just the raw emotion from it, and like listening to both your stories, and we've known each other not since birth, but for quite a few years.
Yeah, pretty soon.
And I hadn't heard.
Pretty soon I'll have known Ryan most of my life because we're getting awfully close to 50% of my years of existence. I've known him.
But I mean, to me, that one, just the emotion in it, and me learning more about both of you, I think was probably one of the more emotional ones. So I was attached to that. But like from a fun standpoint, the 80s, 90s, those two were very good.
That was fun.
We were subject matter freaking experts in that, weren't we?
We were. I remember taking off my headphones, setting them on the table. I'm like, that's the best one yet. That was the 80s. So, but it was so fun to do. I mean, living your childhood again. I mean, that was it, you know, so it was fun.
But a fan favorite. Well, no. What was your favorite, Thee?
You know, I'm not going to disagree with you. I really did enjoy episode 9, Pride on the Rocks. I love that we were able to get that out in such a timely moment, right?
It was great.
In June, you know, I mean, wherever it lands and whatever it impacts, like, I think that's great. I think Joe said a really great thing, and I'm going to save it for Joe to say it. But I really enjoyed, you know, just all these little things about like us. Like I enjoyed talking about whiskey and festivals with you guys. The good, the bad, right? Like Irish Fest wasn't exactly what we hoped it would be, but I'm also looking forward as I look at that one. It also reminds me that there's going to be other ones.
Yeah.
There'll be
right.
Future State is coming up too. So, you know, I see growth as I'm looking through this list. I'm like, good golly, you know, we just got better and better. So
yeah, we did. We really did.
I agree. For me, same. Pride on the Rocks is my favorite, and fun was those nostalgia ones.
So looking through our metrics online and data that we get from the podcast platforms, fan favorite was definitely It's All Fair and Love, War, and Whiskey, which our disclosure, I think we told everyone, that was another one we had to do 2 episodes in one day. So we did Whiskey and Festivals, and then we did the All Fair and Love, War, and Whiskey.
Back to back.
And that was fun, though.
We thought we could handle that one.
No.
Hey, but the intention of that one was to have a free for all. So I mean, what a better stage! It's all good. That was fun, and I'm glad the listeners agreed with us on that. Joe, what was your favorite?
My absolute favorite was, like you guys, the Pride on the Rocks. For me, it was definitely a moment where Joe got a little vulnerable, kind of took down the wall, and just kind of really spoke from my heart and really kind of laid it all out there. So you got to hear the true blue Joe. And everybody's got their stories, right? Mine's not anything crazy, but it's just, being able to talk it through and then listening to it, I was like, wow. So it just kind of brought me back, and it was really, really nice. And, I said Ryan did just such a great job interviewing us and asking those questions. And it was good. That was my favorite.
So I got another one here. I know we have about 10 minutes. What was maybe your favorite and least favorite whiskey that we've tried in season 1?
I can do least favorite right off the bat.
I think we all three could do the same
one.
one.
On the count of 3.
1, 2, 3.
AI
whiskey.
Yes. There we go. That one was terrible.
That was awful.
I mean, but it was, look, if you don't take an adventure.
Yep. And that's what we did.
That's right.
And I hope our listeners understand that we're willing to sacrifice ourselves to taste whiskey for you and let you know.
And if you want to send us some samples to try and hear our thoughts, we would be glad to accept those.
Shout out to anyone who has shared, because if you haven't noticed in the last couple of episodes, we have definitely opened up a couple of bottles that people have shared, and we have some plans coming up in season 2. If you shared bottles with us.
Or suggestions. I mean, hey, have you tried this?
I'd rather they bought it for us.
I understand, but you have so much stuff. You probably have it downstairs. But
he says that all the time. I know. I got that downstairs.
The shout out to all the people who, listen, who give us
absolutely.
Yeah, who give us, whatever, feedback or suggestions or whatever. I mean, the first person that comes to my mind is Adrian.
Yeah.
Adrian always has something to say and is waiting for our podcast to drop. When's it going to drop? So, yeah, shout out to you, buddy. Thanks for listening.
So what can we give our listeners a little teaser of what's going to happen next year or next season? Now you got me saying year.
I know. I'm sorry. So maybe if all goes well, this episode may actually be available on video on YouTube. If it's not, I can tell our listeners that is something we have been working on, is getting video to go with our podcast. Because we know you all want to see Joe's face.
Especially when she's making the face.
Yeah, would I drink a bad one?
So, I mean, Ryan and I are pretty, but Joe is awesome.
Awesome. I'm something.
I said I have a face for radio, not video. So
yeah, we're our own worst critic, but we're willing to give it to you guys, our listeners, and so hopefully YouTube can take off for us in season 2. So that's the one I would pick as a sneak peek. Joe, do you got anything you can think of to share with our listeners? What's coming up?
I know that we're gonna have more guests, right? So we're gonna have more guests, more topics. We're going to ask our listeners to submit, episode ideas on our website, or an instant message on Instagram. Hit us up. We love to have your involvement, and we definitely will listen. So I know that that's going to be something coming. We've already been working on kind of the guest list and who we're going to bring on board. So I'm excited about that.
And then we're going to do, hopefully, speaking in line with the guests, We're going to try to get to some Michigan distilleries here in Grand Rapids. We have quite a few of them in the area or within West Michigan, just to give listeners a little introduction to West Michigan whiskey and bourbon and even spirits maybe, and hopefully get some of those people on. We've got a few bartenders that we talk to frequently, and then again, like I said, we'll hit some distilleries and try to get some other guests on. I know we've been honing our skills with Eve.
Shout out to Eve. Shout out to Eve. I'm sorry to interrupt Ryan, but shout out to Eve. She did 2 great episodes with us. And Ryan said it. Yep. She's got some skills. She's done some podcasts before, and we are growing in this year, but I'm looking forward to, checking out some new perspectives on both whiskey and what comes after it starts with whiskey.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep. So as we're wrapping things up here, we hope you guys all tune back in next year. Next season. Damn it. I'm going to have a lot of editing to do in this one.
Don't edit it. Leave it in.
That's kind of funny.
So give us a shout out on Instagram. I'm Whiskey Fee.
Rye Guy Whiskey GR.
Joe the Experience.
And visit us on ontherocksproduction.com. Check out the podcast website and leave us some feedback, show ideas, and anything else you got for us. Appreciate it. We'll see you all next season.
Yeah.
See you in a few weeks.
Thank you next season.